Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. This weekend was a very good one. Hopefully for you, it was just as amazing. My daughter was having a leavers party. She's 11. She's now going to go to big school where she'll be doing secondary school. I think in America it's called high school. And it was interesting to see them all having a party and having fun. And now going on to the next level, and that level is going to be extremely difficult because they're having to deal with more subjects to learn. At the same time, they're having to deal with a lot of hormones now going through their body in terms of them transforming from girls and boys to young ladies and young men. And then eventually, by the time they leave, they're just on the cusp of being full-grown women and full-grown men. So there's all these stages within life. And I was speaking to somebody recently, and we're talking about how long it may take to actually change a sexless relationship. And really, it's always dependent down on the person that's trying to change it. Most people think it's more about convincing the other person, but I think it becomes more of really unlearning bad habits. The quicker you can unlearn bad habits, the quicker you can change the sexless relationship. Because I think most people feel like by changing it, they're going to have to do a whole bunch of work or a bunch of things in order for that to happen. And it's more, if you think of influence, especially within a seduction perspective, to influence somebody within a seduction perspective, you have to be least invested in the actual seduction in order for you to have a value within that seduction. And I'll probably repeat that again because it's probably the most important part about changing a sexless relationship. The person who's least invested within the seduction is got more value within the seduction. So if you think about it, you place so much significance on the seduction, and therefore you lowered your value, and therefore you continue the cycle of rejection. So it's a very important part to understand when it comes to how long it takes. Sometimes it's similar to what I'm going through right now. I've done Muay Thai, and at the moment, there's a time when I was just stalled in terms of weight loss. So I introduced weight training in order to start aiding on the weight reduction. So if I get more muscle, then I should have my basal metabolic rate would go up. So that's the expenditure of energy while I'm resting. So because of the more muscles I have, the more energy I will expend when I'm resting, and that's the idea behind it. So it has been quite a journey. That's one of the things that I had to change was obviously the weight training, but the other bit was my diet. So I've introduced having 200 grams of protein every single day, which has been extremely difficult. So I'm now trying to find different ideas of, because one of the issues I came across was that I was not feeling hungry anymore. So I needed to figure out how to get hungry. So I've had to introduce stuff like protein bars because of how sweet they are. It will cause me to want to eat more protein. So there's certain things I'm working towards. And I'm saying this so you can understand that when you're changing a sexless relationship, you are going to hit roadblocks, and you're going to have to be tweaking and changing. So you change something, you analyze it for a little bit. And this is one of the things that I've been doing. I'm tracking every single thing. So I go on my scales. It tells me how much weight I have, how much water retention I've got, the body fat percentage, and also my basal metabolic rate. So I'm looking at those numbers and seeing what's happening. So for example, when I introduced 200 grams of protein in my diet, I started seeing my muscle growing. So again, that was a good indicator. I'm saying that that's the right thing to do. And then when I changed that, I started finding it difficult to get 200 grams of protein because I was consistently full all the time. So again, I've now had to adapt that. So for the next week, while I've introduced protein bars and introduced some carbs within my diet, I'm going to have to start analyzing for that for the next 2 weeks to see if that's working. So, and you got to equate the same thing. So as you tweak and change a few things within your sexless relationship, you watch it for some time. Because one of the things I've noticed is that, like me before, I would train, eat, and then within 2 weeks, I would go and look at the mirror and I wouldn't see a change and then feel discouraged. And this is one of the things that most people do with their sexless relationship. They change something a little bit, or they start doing something. And just because they don't get an instant return for that investment, for lack of a better term, they then give up. And again, you have to be able to be consistent and also willing to go through the difficult periods, because there's sometimes when I wake up and I do not want to train, or I do not want to eat, or I do not want, and I have to use discipline, but also I have to be courageous enough to trust that if I do it, I'm going to get the right result. So as I look at the mirror, normally I still have a belly. I still don't have the definition. I think at the moment, I've only just decided to start measuring, using a tape measure to see if there's any changes in terms of my chest size and bicep and so on. So in order to track, and I'm trying to equate my training and what's going on in terms of my weight training to you changing your sexless relationship. And when you can understand the actual mechanics of actually getting it changed, the time frame only then comes down to you and your discipline and you unlearning all the bad habits. So the more I remove bad habits within my life in terms of training and how I look at diet and the way I approach, the way I look after my body, the quicker I am going to get the result. So this is a very important part, and this is for you to important part to understand. A lot of you guys are afraid to take action. So I've sort of invited you guys to a call. I've invited you to the Facebook group, and you fear just making the action. And again, if you imagine, if I fear weight training, in fact, there's one time I was fearing it because I'd pulled a muscle, so I started fearing having to go weight training. So I had to overcome that fear and then make the move and then continuously go and really keep that momentum. I'm going to finish off in saying this, that every time you don't make a move, you set yourself back months. And some of you guys, you set yourself back years. And I know you might think you might leave the relationship. Maybe it's a good point that you leave the relationship. But if you don't figure out the reason why you've ended up in a sexless relationship, I've met at least a lot of guys who have been in the second relationship and still in a sexless relationship. So there's a contribution from you, and it's very important for you to understand what that is. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you can go to our Facebook group. You can have there's free resources available in the Facebook group. There's also free resources available from a link inside the Facebook group, where it will take you to a different page and it will give you the 3 things that you need to know in order to change a sexless relationship. Because I think a lot of you guys, you're afraid of being sold. So there's this fear of, if I go and speak to this person, I'm going to be sold and I'm going to be high pressure sales. And like I said, if I'm not going to force you to join our program. I'm not going to trick you to joining our program. We handpick everybody that comes in. So you might not even qualify, but at least we can give you something that will help you move you to the next level. And like I said, it's very important that you are taking action and continuously taking action. And over a period of time, you will see a change within you, more importantly, in your relationship. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Hopefully you can have a very good week. Thank you very much. See you soon. Take care.